he's good enough that we're going to stay on him until we figure out what to do, because I like a lot. Easy in this country. That was a hike and a half, boy.
This week's show, we're down in southern Saskatchewan with field producer Blake Coutts as he tries to fill his archery mule deer tag. Then, on the second half of the show, we stick with Blake as he goes after a couple of pretty good whitetails in northern Saskatchewan. So, let's put on our hiking boots and see what kind of bucks we can find on our first morning out.
What a dandy. Yeah, he's a giant. So Blake, what do we got going here this morning? Well, we are in the middle of more big bucks than I have ever seen at one time in my life. So we're going to hopefully watch and see where this fella goes to bed. And in a perfect world, we'd run an arrow through him here in a few hours, but we'll have to see what happens. But it's all good.
About an hour later, the buck we now called Stickers was still up browsing around. And before we could make a decision on what to do, we needed to know a few things. First and foremost, where was he going to bed? Second, how many other deer would be bedded close by and where? And finally, what was the wind going to do? So until we had a few answers, all we could do was keep an eye on him and let the anticipation build.
Well, we've got the big guy bedded out here at about 360 yards, and he changed positions on us a little bit, but the trouble's coming in that there's about 5 does, fawns, and smaller bucks all bedded down a chute off to the right side of him, and with the wind coming into our face here, we got no approach on him. So we're gonna drift back over this saddle over here behind us, and we're gonna go about a mile around and come in on the back side of him to see if we've got another approach that direction. So he's good enough that we're going to stay on him until we figure out what to do, because I like a lot.
The Canadian Guide Life with Brad Fry is brought to you by Monarch Images, trail cameras that capture the action. Fort Muzzle Shell Outfitters, Montana's finest big game hunts. Buddy Ramp, the safe way to get loaded. Big Buck Magazine, Canada's #1 deer hunting publication. And by Fry's Canadian Outback Outfitters.
Before the break, Blake and I circled around to find an approach to the bedded buck we now called Stickers. Unfortunately, there were just too many other deer in the way, and not wanting to spook him this early in the game, we reluctantly backed out of there and went exploring.
What do we got there, Blako?
Well, we have got one beautiful, typical in full velvet still. He looks really, really nice. So
Let's go give him a go. We got lots of time.
yeah, I have no idea where he came from other than the fact that he just stood up right in front of us. So
Unfortunately for this same buck, my wife Susan drew a tag in the same area, and about a month later he was in easy range of her muzzleloader, and wasn't so lucky. That evening we set up a safe distance away overlooking Sticker's bedroom, and just as the sun was setting, he tiptoed out of cover, giving us some valuable information for the rest of the hunt.
We found Stickers. About 4 or 5 others are coming in, but we found them again. Now it's just a matter of getting in front of them. But always exciting seeing them coming out in the flats back into the hills through the scopes. Gets your blood going.
We watched Stickers for a good hour again, and just like the day before, he browsed around later than all the other bucks, before finally laying down, completely surrounded by bodyguards. So, once again, Blake and I covered some ground to see what else was around, before coming back that evening to give Stickers another try.
can't get much better. We've had a hell of a morning. Antelope, coyotes, mule deer. He's been good.
Oh, we got stickers here again tonight. He's out at about 280, 250. Got a good hour daylight. This guy, he's very visible, but close in the distance into that, 40 or under is a different story. But we're in the game again. We'll see what happens. Might work his way down here. Miss him. How far are you?
It was 40, and I had my 50 on him.
Hey, what happened?
I blew a chip shot. I ranged the other side of the hill and it was 60, and I figured the bottom of the hill for 50, and it was more like 40, and I just popped one just over his back, as pretty as can be. But hopefully we might get another chance at him. He is an utter giant. He's beautiful. Those stickers coming off the side of it, the mass, everything is just... But I'm gonna go have some quiet time now for a minute or two, so go find my arrow and regroup.
After a heartbreaking archery mule deer hunt in southern Saskatchewan, Blake shook it off and hopped right back into his tree stand in northern Saskatchewan, only this time with a whitetail tag in his pocket. And while he was away chasing mule deer, Blake's trail camera caught evidence of an ancient old buck that had been on his radar the past few years. Only this year, it appeared he had sprouted a nice little drop time that just might get him into trouble if he ever decided to make a mistake. It wasn't the drop time buck, but rather another old buck that Blake had plenty of history with, coming within easy bow range. Now, according to Blake's best guess, this old guy was in his 10th year, and he had the war wounds to prove it. If you look closely, just above his brisket, at the base of his neck, there's a huge chunk of muscle missing, a direct result of a bullet with a little buck fever on it back about 5 years ago, when this guy was the king of the forest. Now, it wasn't Blake's bullet that did the damage 5 years ago, and it wouldn't be Blake's arrow this night either, as Blake let the old guy walk in hopes of getting his hands on a drop time. Once November rolled around, Blake was still hunting with his bow, and still after the drop tine buck, except by now another buck was also on Blake's radar, and as luck would have it, they were both on the same stand. So, who was going to make the first mistake?
Drop tine on this side.
It's time now for another blast from the past. Here's Brad with today's vintage video.
Let's stick with the whitetails this week and go back in time a few years and join up with Blake during the Saskatchewan muzzleloader season.
This snow is just picking up and getting heavier all the minute, and the wind's coming up. But we're pretty snug, pretty cozy inside here, and we're just gonna keep hanging in and see what happens. Look at that, what a beast. Get that out of here. That is an absolute beauty. I am just absolutely thoroughly tickled pink with that.
With only days left in the season, and with the wind finally cooperating, Blake was given one more chance to hunt the same stand. And this time, Blake's muzzleloader got a chance to play. And there he was, the drop tine buck. Minus the drop tine. When you find one or two specific bucks at the start of the season to hunt, and after weeks of patiently waiting for your chance, it's a tough pill to swallow when you let them walk. Fortunately, there was still one buck that Blake wanted one more chance at, and minutes later, he got that chance.
minute or two, so.
Next week on the Canadian Guide Life.
Next week, after a long guiding season, I finally get a chance to come home and go whitetail hunting. Along the way, we have a few letdowns, share a few giggles,